Hey guys, Grazer, the Autistic Gamer, and welcome back to Star Trek Voyager Across the Unknown. In our last episode, we met a load of the native inhabitants of the Delta Quadrant, including the Talaxian Neelix, who then subsequently used us to rescue his Ocampa girlfriend Kes from an aggressive species known as the Kazon. We also met our holographic doctor and came up with a plan on how we were actually going to rescue our missing crew members in the form of Harry Kim and B'Elanna Torres. But firstly, as you can see, we have a small situation developing regarding lack of cargo space. Here, Ensign Graham is saying that our cargo bay is overflowing, and if we don't increase our cargo bay resource, we're just going to have to leave what we find behind. Now, this is something that I covered in the previous episode, and I showed you an example of how that works. So our response to this is absolutely yes, we will build an additional cargo bay. And as we take a quick little peek inside our ship, you can see we have a number of rooms that are currently offline as we try to stay on grey mode and use as little deuterium as possible. And also, as you can see, we already have a cargo bay. However, because this was built before this task came up, it doesn't count, so we now in fact have to build another one. Now, fortunately, we have 30 cycles to get this cargo bay built, so whilst there is a little bit of a time constraint, it's not exactly urgent top of the priority list right now. What was a priority was getting those emergency quarters built, so we now have quarters for every member of our crew currently. And as we look at our morale, we are at +5, as you can see. That's because we are at +10 because we are using premium replicator rations, but we are currently losing 5 because we are in fact having to use emergency quarters. However, overall we have high morale, which means we're getting 10% of all our hero attributes, 20% less time for building, upgrading, repairing and researching, and 20% off our hero abilities cooldowns in combat, which we will see in action later on in this episode. Captain, we reached our destination. Orders? So although we have now reached Ocampa and we could start our mission for today, I actually want to just hold fire for a couple of seconds and go back into our ship and go to main engineering. I am in fact now going to increase the warp core level up to tier 1. As you can see, this is going to increase our output to 120. However, it is going to come with a cost of an additional 24 deuterium per cycle. Now, I am increasing this now so I can activate our sick bay. I will explain later on why I am doing this. Spoiler alert, you technically don't need to do this, but I'll explain why when we get there. But since we now have a lot of spare power, we might as well bring our 2 engineering officers online, increasing the number of work teams that we have available. And let's start clearing out this ruined room, because we do in fact have a cargo bay that we need to build. And let's make use of our work teams. Let's clear out this one, and let's not forget there is another ruined room hiding to the right there. Let's get that cleared out. Right, let's get this mission underway. Okay, Kes is a mandatory away team member for this one. She's bringing some diplomacy, some medical and some science. However, we've still got 2 more spots that we need to fill. So we're going to bring Neelix, who brings a ton of diplomacy with us and a little bit of engineering. And I was having a small debate with myself on whether I wanted to bring Chakotay or Tuvok. Both have command, though Chakotay has significantly more, but Tuvok has the edge on the security side. In the end, I decided to go with Tuvok because he is in fact only a level 1, and I want to try and get him leveled up as quick as I can. Upon materializing near the tunnel entrance, a group of Kazon is already there, tinkering with the security barrier in frustration. As soon as they notice the away team, they reach for their weapons, but hesitate. "Careful," shouts one of them. "Don't let them butter you up." "Captain, the Kazon seem to be more cautious this time, but they're still ready to attack. What are our orders?" So we could use a show of force and raise our weapons, and that would involve Tuvok and would also give us 16 uranium if it succeeds. We could use Neelix and create a transporter module, make a harmless object appear that causes a distraction, but that doesn't give us any rewards, and neither of those two options are actually guaranteed. However, because, as it says, we used diplomacy last time, we're going to use that, and we can combine Kess and Neelix to get us a guaranteed success and at least 150 morale. The away team approaches the Kazon and reminds them of their previous peaceful interaction. Kazon, though still suspicious, are persuaded by the diplomatic efforts of the away team and retreat to avoid getting into a firefight. Captain, we've reached the tunnel entrance, using the transporter signal amplifier now to find possible breaches in the security barrier. So we've got two different ways of essentially doing the same thing. Both of them will give us 10 science points if they succeed. No risk involved with either of them. So because Neelix is fatigued and I want to keep Kess for the next skill check, we are going to go with Tuvok, which will give us about 66% chance of this succeeding. The away team deploys the transporter signal amplifier, carefully scanning the barrier for any vulnerabilities. After a tense few minutes, they locate a small breach in the energy field. They successfully transport themselves through the opening and into the tunnel. Beyond the barrier, the tunnel opens into a breathtaking sight. Embedded in a large cavern is a futuristic environment with smooth white walls, glowing in warm white light and sprinkled with patches of green. This is the Alcompa City. Captain, we're inside the Alcompa City, but it's a maze of streets and chambers. How should we proceed to find Harry and B'Elanna? And this is why Kess was a mandatory squad member for the away team, and why I didn't use her in the previous skill check, as she now has a guaranteed success, which will give us 200 morale. Kess approaches a group of Alcompa, respectfully asking for assistance in locating the missing Harry and B'Elanna. The Alcompa, touched by her concern, eagerly provide directions to a medical facility. The away team eventually finds their crew members, awake but disorientated, surrounded by strange medical equipment. B'Elanna, wary of the unfamiliar faces, instinctively reaches for a weapon, but before any confrontation can occur, the ground starts to shake violently. A message from Captain Janeway cuts through the joy of reunion. The Caretaker array has apparently repositioned itself and is now firing at the tunnel entrance. We need to get out of here. So we got two options on how we're going to do that. We can lead the team through the collapsing tunnels, or we can clear a path through any debris or obstacles. Both involve Tuvok, both have a small element of risk. However, the latter gives us 14 uranium if it succeeds, and that success is in fact guaranteed, so it's pretty much a no-brainer about which one we're going to go for. The away team clears a path through the collapsing tunnels, using their phasers to blast away debris and create a safe passage. They dodge falling rocks and collapsing ceilings, ensuring everyone escapes safely. Soon they reach the exit, the security barrier, the only thing standing between them and their escape. The tremors are interfering with the signal amplifier's focus, Captain. The connection is constantly being interrupted. We can't beam out like this. So again, we've got two options. We could stabilize the transporter signal amplifier, which has a 26 out of 28 chance with Neelix, or we can analyze the tremors interference pattern and recalibrate. We can use a combination of Kess and Tuvok for that to give us a 31 out of 33. Both have risks, but the latter will give us 18 science points if it succeeds. So since there's a reward on offer, I think that's the one we should be going for. The team analyzes the tremors interference pattern and quickly recalibrates the transporter signal amplifier to compensate. Transporter signal stabilizes, allowing the away team to lock onto the beam and materialize safely back onto Voyager. And another successful OA mission. 425 morale, 28 science points, and 14 uranium for our efforts. Also 200 XP for 4 successful challenges, 75 for the 1 critical success, 100 for doing it injury free, and 1.1 for our transporter room bonus. Back on Voyager, Harry Kim breathes a sigh of relief while B'Elanna Torres eyes her Starfleet rescuers with suspicion. The Marquis engineer struggles to understand this sudden alliance. Miss Torres, welcome aboard Voyager. I'm Captain Catherine Janeway. And Ensign Kim, it's good to have you back in one piece. Reporting for duty, Captain. I didn't think I'd ever see Voyager again. It's good to be back. What the hell is going on here, Chakotay? Since when are we cozying up to Starfleet? It's a long story, B'Elanna. Let's just say we had to compromise to get you back. And we share a common goal, getting back home. Anything you learned on the planet could help us. And we've got 3 dialogue choices, and we are going to go through all of them, but let's start with probably the most important one. Did they learn anything about the Caretaker while they were there? Did you learn anything about the Caretaker? He's been acting weird lately. Apparently abducting people is a new hobby of his. Oh, and he increased the Ocampa's power supply enough to last them for 5 years, if I recall correctly. And he destroyed the tunnels. Sounds like he's preparing for something, but what? Next up, did they actually learn anything about their hosts while they were on the surface? What can you tell us about the Ocampa? Annoyingly friendly and incredibly naive. They wouldn't last 5 minutes on the surface. Apparently they've been living underground for over 500 generations. That's true. Our ancestors lived on the surface once. Ancient journals tell us the Caretaker opened a deep chasm and led us underground. Any idea why? The Ocampa mentioned something about the warming? The day our surface turned into a desert. On that day the Caretaker appeared and built our city. Since then he has provided for the Ocampa. A debt that can never be repaid. Say again, Lieutenant Tuvok? There is enough evidence for me to form a reasonable hypothesis, Captain. The Ocampa homeworld turned into a desert from one day to the next. The Caretaker's immediate arrival seems to be no coincidence. I assume he is responsible for the ecological damage. Building the underground city and caring for them, he seems to be trying to make amends. In addition, it was mentioned that the Caretaker provided the Ocampa with a mere 5 years' worth of energy, coupled with the destruction of the access tunnels. And his frequent references to running out of time. The logical conclusion is that he does not intend to continue his role as Caretaker. I believe he is dying. If he dies, how the hell are we supposed to get home? And the final big question, why were they sent to the Ocampa The Caretaker mentioned that you might have what he needs. Can you make sense of that? We woke up covered in some strange ulcerations. The Ocampa said we were sent away to prevent some kind of plague. Except we weren't sick before we met the guy. What a crock. They also said the Caretaker had sent others with the same disease, but they didn't recover. They died? I want you both in sickbay, now. Captain, their condition is unusual. It appears to be a cellular disruption caused by the introduction of foreign genetic material. Their bodies are rejecting it, rather violently, I might add. They're fortunate. A few more days and the cellular disruption would have been fatal. Foreign genetic material? For what purpose? An excellent question, Commander. It appears to have been introduced deliberately. The way anyone would want to inject them with incompatible DNA is beyond my comprehension. Prognosis, Doctor? I've already started the treatment. With my expertise, they should make a full recovery. The Doctor's discovery further confirms my hypothesis, Captain. Aware of his imminent death, the Caretaker is enacting measures to safeguard the Ocampa for as long as possible. However, they will run out of energy eventually, so he seeks a successor, one who would continue his work. This explains the abduction and subsequent testing of individuals from various sectors. If he dies before finding a suitable successor, we'll be stranded. We have to return to the array before it's too late. Captain, given the Caretaker's reluctance to cooperate, a more assertive approach may be necessary. The Vulcan's right. If that overgrown energy blob won't send us home, we'll blast our way out. Phasers, torpedoes, the whole shebang. I believe a bit of tactical planning is in order. Shields first, then phasers. So after B'Elanna advocates for an all-guns-blazing approach, whilst Chakotay appeals for a more measured response, we now have 3 new objectives in the top left corner. Repair and activate the shield generator, repair and activate the phaser control room, and repair and activate the torpedo launch bay. However, if you take a look in the top right hand corner, you will see we don't actually have any spare work crews to do any of that. So we need to get that rectified before we can do anything. And to do that, what we're going to do first off is cancel these 2 jobs that are clearing out some space from these ruined rooms. This frees up the work crew so we can get to work on the shield generator and the phaser control room. We're going to leave the 3rd excavation going because that's going to be for our cargo bay for our secondary objective. And as we have a quick look into the sick bay, we can see that B'Elanna and Harry are not actually there. The reason I activated the sick bay before we did that mission is because that cutscene with the captain and the doctor and everyone does still take place if the sick bay is not active, but you literally just see the overlay of the ship, not actually into the sick bay, and I thought it would be nice to actually see that, so there you go. And whilst I've been saying all that, 2 out of 3 is now up and running. First off, our shield generator, as you can see, it provides the ship with deflector shields during combat and also raises our shield capacity by 35. And our phaser control room fires a powerful beam that deals moderate damage to the shields and to the hull, providing more energy to the weapons, increases the fire rate. When we actually come to use our phasers, as in when we actually get into a battle, the game will show you where we actually do that. But as it says, each additional room will increase our energy threshold by 2 and add plus 50 health to the weapon subsystem. We are, however, limited to 4 phaser control rooms, though in this playthrough we're unlikely to have that many. So in addition to sending them out on away missions, we can also assign our heroes to specific rooms. The heroes you can assign is based on the hero attribute they have. So for our phaser control room, this requires someone with the security attribute, which for us at the moment is either Chakotay or Tuvok. Now, given that this is the phaser control room and Tuvok is our tactical officer, we'll go with Tuvok, but he does also have the higher security rating. And by putting him in there also increases our rate of fire. And we're going to do the same with the shield generator. Again, this requires somebody with the security attribute. We could move Tuvok from the phaser control room if we felt we needed to, but in this particular instance, Chakotay in there will do just a good enough job to increase the room's efficiency. And before we forget, let's kick off the repair of the torpedo launch bay. Let's also bring the workshop online, since we do in fact have the power to spare at the moment. And whilst we're here, let's quickly grab some deuterium from this small debris field. We can either get a guaranteed 314, or we could take a little bit of extra risk with our tractor beam, possibly getting a maximum of 484, but we haven't taken much risk now, and I'm not about to start. And our third of three is now ready to go with our torpedo launch bay. Fires torpedoes that deal massive damage to the hull but are almost useless against shields. And again, providing more energy to the weapons will increase the fire rate. Our offensive and defensive capabilities have been restored, Captain. However, I suggest a test run to verify system functionality and to assess our temporary flight controller's performance in combat. Excuse me? This ace pilot knows more maneuvers than Starfleet can throw Greek letters and numbers together. Except the one for evading Starfleet custody. Gentlemen, enough. Tuvok is right. We need to test our combat systems, but we lack a sparring partner. You have one. Our ship. Seriously, Chakotay? All the marquee on the Voyager is Starfleet target practice? What could possibly go wrong? B'Elanna, focus. We need preparation. I will pilot the Voyager, Captain. Just remember to set your phasers to simulation. I'll keep it in mind, Commander. And so, because this is the first time we are having some combat, we get a tutorial thrown in for us. Each combat encounter, we may choose up to 3 heroes to utilize their specific strengths and abilities. So as you can see here, Chakotay and B'Elanna are not available because they are on the support ship Valjean. So first off, we are going to go for Neelix and his rousing speech. Resets cooldowns of other heroes' combat abilities to 4 seconds, but itself comes with a 30-second cooldown. Okay, next we're going to put Chief Tactical Officer Tuvok's coordinating attack in, which will fire 2 simultaneous phaser salvos with dealing increased damage, but comes with a 20-second cooldown. And ace pilot Tom Paris in his evasive maneuver dodges enemy attacks for a limited time, granting a brief window of invulnerability, and comes with a 25-second cooldown. So now we need to have a tutorial for the start of combat. Voyager will fight semi-autonomously, which means phasers are fired automatically, but we have to fire the torpedoes manually. We control the ship by opening the command menu and deciding how we want to approach the enemy. And the game has helpfully paused combat, so we can in fact go into our orders and bring up our command menu. So we can order our ship to try and attack or defend a side with either the defensive or offensive movements. Fleeing requires enemy engines to be damaged, while surrendering costs resources as a form of payment. We can also repair the damaged subsystems, and the game, for the purpose of our first battle, wants us to go to offensive movement. So that is what we are going to do, and as you can see on the left hand side, our objective is to disable the shield generator of the Voyager to deactivate the shields. Now I want you to keep an eye on what sort of happens next, because I'm going to select shield.
Moving to attack the port side, Captain.
And as you can see on the pause screen, it says attack left, but watch where Voyager hits. As you can see, it is in fact hitting the front and targeting the weapon system. Now, before I continue that train of thought, in good tutorial fashion, we're now being shown how to activate those hero abilities that we've set. In battle, our hero's abilities can be selected with right back and left back to switch, and we activate them with the X button. A blue countdown indicates the ability is activated, while a white countdown shows the cooldown time until the ability is ready for use again. Now back to my thought. As you can see, it has destroyed the front shields and has disabled the weapon systems, despite the fact that I said that I want to target the shields on the left. I don't know if this is a glitch or whether it's the game way of going, hey, it's actually a good idea to take out the weapons first. And actually thinking about it tactically, it is probably good to take out the weapon systems first. We'll see if I remember to do it. And with one final torpedo, we achieve our victory, albeit in a simulation. Boom! That's how it's done. Not bad for a temporary guy, huh, Tuvok? Your methods were unconventional, however the objective was achieved. An acceptable performance. One more thing, Captain. Whatever awaits us at the array, the Voyager should be in a support position for Voyager. Alright, have the transporter room standing by in case your crew needs an emergency beam out. Let's show this quadrant what we're really made of. And with that call to arms from Captain Janeway, we're just going to quickly head down to this Class O planet just to use up some cycles so we can finish clearing out this ruined room, so we can now start the process of building our cargo bay. Quick check on our science laboratory shows that we've still got 6 cycles remaining on our hull reinforcement research. And let's not forget to restart the excavation of our little room hidden off to the side on the right. And as we decide to leave that uranium deposit, finish excavating our ruined room, discover we can't actually build anything anyway, finish off our cargo bay and make Harry Kim happy, as well as all the crew, I think that's actually a good place to call it an episode. Thank you very much, everybody, for making it to the end. I hope you are enjoying this playthrough so far. I am hoping to get these up every 2 or 3 weeks. I think I say this like at the end of every episode, but thank you very much for bearing with me as I try to find a workflow that actually works for everything in terms of what I'm recording with this and Midnight Suns and Buffy and streaming and generally trying to do life. But thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.